Okay, let's see about this line. So I'm going to go ahead and cross off the area model. I'm not going to use it, but I'm going to use part of it. Okay? I'm going to break this bottom number apart. And I'm going to break it apart into 100 plus 30 plus 6. Can you write that much for me, please? Okay, now what I'm going to do, and I don't expect you to do this, but I'm just going to highlight, what color am I on here? I'm just going to highlight these zeros. Ooh. Uh-oh. Try that again. Okay, I'm going to highlight the zeros, but just to draw your attention to them, okay? So here's what I want you to do. Keep your pencils down. We're actually doing 3 problems. We're doing 524 times 6. So right up here, write 524 times 6, but don't solve it yet, okay? Now the second problem we're doing after we cross off the 6 is actually 524 times 30. Do you see the 30 here? It's over on the side, okay? Now, don't cross the 6 off. Oh my gosh. Of course I'm recording when I'm making all these mistakes, right?
Yep.
Okay. Well, they'll get a good laugh out of it. Okay, so don't cross off the 6 yet. Let's write the next problem, which is 524 times 30. Wait. Which makes more sense?
3.
Times 3. Now look where I'm going to put the 0. Just write it down there. Okay? Okay, now the third problem that I'm going to do, I'm going to take 524 times 100. But when I write that, what makes most sense? Times 1. Now how many zeros will I add?
2.
Okay? Because 100 has 2 zeros on it. So we're going to come back to these 3 problems. Right now I want to look at the actual 3 by 3 multiplication. Okay, you ready? So you can draw whatever it is you want to draw. If you're drawing a reindeer, which that looks kind of like E.T., doesn't it? Okay? If you're drawing a reindeer, make sure your antlers are over to the side. Can you handle that? Okay. I'm going to leave everything else off of it for now because I just want the plain head. Okay. So remember, the first problem we're doing is 524 times 6. By the way, can all of you do 3 by 1 multiplication?
Yeah.
Every one of you can. You've been able to do it since 4th grade, haven't you? Can all of you do 3 by 1 multiplication and then put a 0 on the end?
Yeah.
And what about 3 by 1 and put 2 zeros on the end?
Yeah.
So this isn't as hard as it seems. It's just that it's written all together, but it's still just 3 problems, okay? So 4 times 6, and I'm going to pull a stick for that one. Javier, what's 4 times 6?
24.
Now I want you to pay careful attention to where I'm regrouping. Everybody look. It goes above the tens place. So 24. The next problem, Rowan, what do I multiply next?
You multiply 2 times 3, or 6 times
2.
2. Or 6 times 2.
6 times 2, what's that?
12.
And then add 2 more.
14.
So I'm going to regroup the 1 in the hundreds place and write the 4. Okay? Now what do I multiply next, Cecil?
6 times 5.
And what's that?
30.
Plus 1 more.
31.
Okay. So stop for a minute and let's just do this problem right here and see if we did that part right. Go ahead. Do it. We good?
Yes.
So all of us are good at 3 by 1 or 4 by 1. You can multiply anything by 1 digit, can't you? Yeah. Okay? The problem comes when we add the X's and the O's and it starts getting confusing. But keep in mind, it's not any harder than this problem, 524 times 3. Okay? So X's and O's, watch me. All right, can you handle that? Go ahead and write that now. So Emma, your turn. What do I multiply now?
4 times 3.
Good. 4 times 3 is? So I'll regroup the 1 and write the 2. Have you noticed you have to have very nice handwriting for this type of multiplication?
Yes.
You can't just slap it down because your numbers won't be lined up. Okay? What do I multiply next, Keisler? Yeah. We just did 3 times 4, so now we're going to do
3 times 2.
good. What's that?
8, 3, 7. 6.
Plus 1 more.
7.
I think that's why he said 7.
Uh-huh.
Yeah. Okay. And then the next problem, Brayden, what do I do next?
You do 3 times 5.
And what's 3 times 5?
3 times 15.
Okay, so I'm going to write the 15. Now, how many of you are curious if we did that right?
Yeah.
I am. Let's see. So everybody solve this little easy problem over here. That took 0 time. Well, maybe a few seconds, right? So did we do it right? Yeah, we got the same answer. Okay, watch me. How many zeros do you think I'm going to write this time?
2.
Well, why do you think that?
Because there's 2 zeros.
There's 2 zeros on 100, aren't there? Okay, watch. X's and O's.
Yeah.
You see how I crossed off the 3 because I'm done multiplying times 3? So you're going to cross off at the top. You're also going to cross off in the tens place and then write your 2 zeros. Now this is just 524 times 1. You know how I know that? Because I wrote it right here. Think you can do that problem on your own? Okay, go ahead and do that problem on your own. And I'm just going to make sure I did it right. So I got 52,400. Now, guess what we have to do now? Add 3 numbers. Haven't we been practicing adding 3 numbers in drill bingo? Yeah. So this shouldn't be any big deal to us. Go ahead and add 3 numbers. Now, if you made a mistake, go back and figure out where you made it. Okay. You might have forgot to regroup a 1 at the top. Did you see how to regroup a 1 and regroup a 1?
Yeah.
Did you notice where I wrote them? Not at the very top. That would be confusing, wouldn't it? Has to be inside of this little area here. Okay. So let's do the next one. It's the same thing, only different numbers. All right, take a look at problem 2. Now, I know you're freaking out, but stop. Let's break this number apart, 326. So how will I break it apart?
300, 200,
Plus 20.
plus 6.
Okay, everybody write that down. And then I know you don't have your highlighters, but I'm going to highlight those zeros so we know how many there are, okay? So basically we have 3 problems we're going to do. We're going to take 4,519 times 6. Eyes up here. We're going to take 4,519 times 20, which the smart way to do it is, okay, take the 0 off, put it back on. And then 4,519 times 300, smart way to do it.
That's 3 and add 0 back on.
Okay, so let's write those 3 problems. Don't write them too big. And we won't write those forever, but on this first day, I want us to. Now remember, if you take the 0 off, you have to remember to put it back on. So once you have those 3 problems written down, just put your pencil down so I know you're ready. Thank you, Mrs. Lowry.
I tried.
No, you're doing great.
Did you try to stay the whole class period?
Yeah, she would like to, I'm
I
sure.
would rather be here than there.
Where are you going?
To lunch.
Grade.
For third. And lunch.
Oh, 3rd grade lunch duty.
And 6th. And then 5th. And then.
And it just and going and going.
All the way up to
I don't know what we would do without Mrs. Lowry.
We would be.
Okay, remember I'm recording, so we better keep going here. All right. So the first thing I'm going to do is draw the head because that helps me. If you don't need it, fine. I don't care. All right? Just remember, this is not art class. This is math class. Okay. All right, so I'm going to do 4,519 times 6. Okay, we're going to pull sticks. Thanks for staying with me. Julian, what's 6 times 9? And if you can't remember, use that little trick where you put the 6th finger down.
54.
Good. So I'm going to regroup the 5 and write the 4. Did you notice I don't ever regroup above the 1s column?
Yes.
Yeah. Kinsey, how about 1 times 6 plus 5?
11.
11. So I'm going to regroup one of the 1s, write the other one. Okay. Tony, what do I multiply next?
6 times 5.
What's 6 times 5?
30.
Plus 1.
30.
Regroup the 3, write the 1. Diana, what do I multiply now?
You multiply 6 times 4.
And what's that? 6 times 4.
24, and then you add 3, which is 27.
Okay, how many of you want to know if we did that right? Okay, go ahead and do this little small problem here. See if we did it right. Can you believe how much easier this little small problem is than that one?
Yeah.
Why is it?
Because it's small.
It's just all in our heads, isn't it? Yes. So now that I'm ready to do this, you know, one thing I like to look at when I do this little small problem, did I regroup correctly above here?
Yes.
Yeah, I did, because they're the same numbers up there. Okay, X's and O's, watch. So how many X's did I make? 4 and 1 0. Now this time we're taking it times 20, but really we're taking the 0 off. Actually, we already put it back on, didn't we?
Yeah.
Yeah. So we'll just take 4,519 times 2. Now here's what somebody did, and I want to caution you about this. Somebody in block 2 decided they were going to do this short, easy problem first and then just write it down over here. What's the goal of 5th grade, though? To be able to do
Bigger.
larger problems like 4 by 3 and 3 by 3. The goal of 5th grade is not to do 4 by 1, is it? So let's start it over here, check it on the easy one. Sound good? Okay. So we've got Nancy. What do I multiply now, Nancy?
You multiply 2 times 9.
And what's that?
18.
Okay, and look, this is going to be hard. I've got to line my 1 up with my 8. I almost made my 0 too fat, didn't I? Misael, what do I do next?
2 times 1, but with the 1 up there is
3. Good. Okay. JC, what do I multiply next?
2 and 5.
Good. What's the answer to that?
10.
And I'm going to regroup that in the thousands place. Okay? Make sure you get it in the right column. And Aiden, what do I multiply now?
6 times 4.
I think I'm on this 2.
2 times
What's 2 times 4?
8.
Plus 1 more.
9.
Okay, let's all check it over here. Now, if you're watching this video at home, you should pause it right now and check it, don't you think?
Yeah.
Yeah. Okay, I feel pretty good about this. I've got my 2 1s at the top that I regrouped, and it matches over here, doesn't it? Okay, watch me. I'm not going to put commas in until my final answer. So watch me. X's, and don't forget you're done with that 2. We already multiplied by 20, okay? And then how many zeros will I make?
2.
2. Okay, now all we have to do is 4,519 times 3. So, Isai, what do I multiply first?
The 3 times
And what's 3 times 9?
27.
Good. Put the 2 in the tens place.
Put in the ones.
No, I didn't. Jaden, what do I multiply now?
3 and 1.
The 3 and the 1. And what's 3 times 1?
3.
Plus 2 more.
5.
Zoe, what do I multiply now?
5 times 3.
And what's 5 times 3?
15.
Good. And I wrote the 1 above the thousands place. You guys agree?
Yes.
Okay. And Jason, what do I do now?
You add 3 times 4.
You do 3 times 4, which is what?
12.
Plus 1 more.
13.
Okay, now I've got a 13 sticking out in front of everything. Do you?
Yep.
That means I lined it up. Do you want to check this before we add our 3 numbers?
Yeah.
Let's do it. Okay, now it's time to add 3 numbers. Okay? You can do it. Did I add it right?
Yep. That's what I got.
Let's say that number together. Remember, I have those little comma tricks. So for the first comma, we're going to say million. For the second comma, we're going to say 1,000. Okay, here we go. 1,473,194. Okay, how you doing?
Good.
Now, you realize we won't do these 3 small problems forever. We're just practicing it that way on this first day when we're learning this, okay? All right, let's look at the next problem. This one's a little different. Now, a lot of kids said, oh, we could just subtract 10 from our answer. Not sure that works with multiplication, okay? But did you notice they just changed the 1 to a 0?
Yeah.
Okay, but we're going to go ahead and we're going to do the 3 problems. So we'll do 300 plus 20 plus 6. And we're going to do 4,509 times 6. 4,509 times 20. And 4,509 times 300. But we have our own language, don't we? We know those 2 zeros down there means take the zeros off and put them back on. Okay, I'm going to let you get that all written down, and then we'll get started. This time, I want to do the small problems first. And I have a reason for that. All right, so this time I want to show you what I figured out when I was your age, okay? When I was a kid. I figured something out when there's a 0 on top and I multiply. And I want to share that information with you. Are you ready? I figured out that whenever I have a 0 here, then whatever my answer is here, I just get to write it. Watch, I'll show you. 6 times 9, what is it?
54.
Okay, so I'm going to regroup the 5 and write the 4. Wait a minute. 6 times 0 is 0. So I just get to write the 5. Everybody want to do that?
Yeah.
Okay, go ahead.
Seems easier.
Yeah, just do it right here for now. Now that you've done that, you got to stop and think, okay, I'm ready for the next problem because I already did the 0. I skipped right over it, didn't I?
No.
So the next problem is what? 6 times 5,
Equals 30.
which is 30. And then 4 times 6.
24 plus 3 is 27.
Okay, now stop for just a minute. Let's see how that works on the big problem. Okay, remember what I figured out when I was a kid? If I've got a 0 on the top, whatever my answer is here, I can just write it.
Yep.
So what's 6 times 9?
54.
So I'm just going to write it. What you have to remember is you already did the 0. So you don't want to write a 0 there. If you get confused, go ahead and put the 5 at the top, and that's going to help you, okay? All right. Now we're ready for 6 times 5, which we decided was 30. And 6 times 4 plus 3. Okay. What comes next?
X's and O's.
X's and O's. And I'm actually multiplying by 20, but we really just have to do times 2, don't we? Now, I want to do it in the big problem. So, eyes up here. Remember what I figured out when I was a kid? If I've got a 0 at the top, whatever the answer is for these two, I just get to write it. So, what's 9 times 2?
18.
So, I just get to write 18.
That's pretty lucky.
Yeah. I don't know why. Has anybody else already figured that out, sort of?
I did it.
Okay. Okay, now I have to remember I've already done the 0, so I'm ready for 5 times 2. What's 5 times 2?
10.
Okay. Now look at the board. 4 times 2. What's that?
80.
Plus 1 more.
9.
Okay, do you want to check it to make sure we did it right? Why don't you write it down over here and check it? So do this problem right here. I'm going to take your word for it. I'm not going to write it. Okay, how are we doing?
Good.
All right, so that was, oh, I was in the wrong problem. I was like, wait a minute, it's 18. Okay. All right, so what comes next? X's, you got to remember to cross off the 2 and 2 zeros. Okay, so you ready?
No.
3 times 9.
27.
I just get to write it, but I have to write it nice and neat, and it's got to be lined up. And if it helps you to put the 2 up there, do it. That way you know you're done with the 0. Okay, now I'm ready for this. 5 times 3.
15.
So regroup the 1, write the 5. 4 times 3 plus 1. Do you want to double check that before we add it up? Okay, go ahead and double check it. How you doing? Okay, let's add 3 numbers. Oh my 8's almost not in the right place. Does anybody else notice that?
Oh, yeah.
Okay, so I'm going to move that over a little bit and get these all lined up better. Yeah, so get my 8, get my 1. That's better, isn't it? Okay. Yeah. Did I add it right?
Yeah, that's right.
Okay, let's say this number. You guys ready?
Yep.
1,469,934. So this last problem, problem 4, is my favorite because it's shorter. Now go ahead and help me break 306 apart. What's it going to be, Javier?
300 plus 6.
Okay, everybody write that over to the side. Remember, we're not using the area model, so you can cross it off if you want. Now, that means I only have 2 problems I have to do. I have to do 4,509 times 6. And I have to do 4,509 times 300. But really, the smart thing to do is,
Take theirs off, put them on the bottom.
right, okay? Get that written down, and then we're going to go slow again. Don't work ahead of me because I want to show you 2 different options for this, okay? So remember, this is not art class, is it?
No.
Okay. So the first problem I need to do is 4,509, which we've already done, haven't we? So technically, we can flip it back and look at it after we do it, right? So Javier, 6 times 9, what is it?
4.
And I see that 0, so I know I can just write 54. But I have to remember that I've already used the 0. Okay? The next one, Kenzie. What am I going to multiply?
8 times 5. Wait, no.
6 times 5.
Yeah, 6 times 5.
6 times 5, and that is
30.
good. And then I'm going to do Rowan. What do I multiply next?
The 6 and 4.
And what's that?
Wait, my brain just died. 30.
24.
Right, yeah.
Plus 3.
27.
Okay, so let's just flip back at that other problem and look at it. Did we get 27,054 on the first row?
Yes.
Okay, now put your pencils down because this is where we have some decisions to make. I'm gonna go ahead and do X's and O's, but I don't want you to write this yet. Okay? So I'm gonna do it the old-fashioned way, where I would just put 1 0 there. Okay? And then I'm going to do 0 times 9, 0 times 0, 0 times 5, 0 times 4, and I'm going to put 4 more zeros. Stop, don't write that, because it's not smart.
Huh?
Why would I write a whole row of zeros when I could just write 2 zeros?
Yeah, that's what I was
So I'm going to back up for a minute, hopefully. So if I know that I only have 2 problems to do, watch how I'm going to do my X's and O's, and you tell me if you agree with it. So X's and O's.
Yes.
Yeah?
There's less chance of making a mistake if we write less numbers. Don't you agree?
Mm-hmm.
Okay, so go ahead and do your X's and O's. There's no reason to write a whole row of zeros. It's just going to mess us up. You know, it might keep us from getting the numbers lined up correctly, right? Now let's multiply this real quick because we've already done it. What's 9 times 3? But I see the 0 there, so I know I can just write 27. If writing the 2 at the top helps you, that's fine, but it's still going to be the same answer because 0 times 3 is 0. Plus 2 is 2. Okay, now I'm ready for 5 times 3. What is that?
15.
Okay. And 4 times 3 plus 1 more.
13.
Okay, let's add that up. Oh, by the way, flip back and see if that's the answer we got for the last row.
13,500. 1,355,000. 50. Wait.
52,700. Okay, now we just add 2 numbers, don't we? Did I do it right? Okay, let's say this number. 1,379,754. Now you know how to do 3 by 3 multiplication, and what's one of the main goals in 5th grade? 3 by 3 multiplication. Congratulations. We're going to keep practicing it tomorrow. Okay? Good job, Block 3.